Hiya, my name's Morag, and those of you that were just on a Zoom with me, you were perfectly right. The weather was on its way, blue skies. This is 3 Minutes with Morag, where I try to simplify and demystify accounting terms and processes. And today I want to talk about charity record keeping and accounting. Okay, so the basic principles of the bookkeeping, etc., for charities are the same. The main difference is the emphasis on things like restricted funds and the expenditure that goes along with it. Okay, so what you need to do is, sorry, that's my clock going off if you can hear it in the background. The point about the record keeping is that you need to keep records that enable the trustees to follow the requirements of the Charities Act. So those requirements are to provide basic information so that you're able to show and explain all of the charities transactions. You must be able to disclose at any point in time with reasonable accuracy is what it says, the financial position of the charity, and basically the ultimate is for the trustees to be able to prepare a set of accounts. On top of that, the entries need to be able to show all of the sums in and out, date, amount, what it's for, etc. And you also need to be able to record the assets and liabilities of the charity. Now, like any business, there are a number of ways that you can use to record your bookkeeping records, and it mostly depends on the size of the organisation. So, for instance, you can be totally and completely manual. You just sort of like writing literally ins and outs. Obviously, that would be if you're particularly small, not got a lot of transactions, etc. So, the pros on that are it's really easy to do, but the negative on that is that it can be quite slow and it's open to errors. Okay, so next level on that is spreadsheets. Now, that would just be, again, assuming that you know how to use spreadsheets. If you don't know how to use spreadsheets, then it's going to be more complicated. But if you know how to use a basic spreadsheet, then it's relatively straightforward. So you can set it up so it'll work out your calculations for you. It'll add up columns, etc. So there's a little bit less human error in there. It's cheap. But the difficulty, the main difficulty there for charities anyway, or organisations that have things like restricted funds, is a bit difficult once you start getting a bit bigger to be able to adapt your spreadsheet when you're trying to start putting in which funders have which expenditures and trying to keep a record of the projects or each of the different funders and things. Not only do you want the category, but you want the funder, you want the project, etc. So it gets a little bit more awkward. It's still prone to errors because there's a lot more human interaction with it. And what it doesn't do is the invoicing, and the kind of accruals and all that kind of thing is actually separate from your transactions. It really is just your cash and bank movements that you usually record on the spreadsheet. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just that, as I said, it has a few limits. So, kind of next stage, as you get a bit bigger and you get a bit more complex, you'll be probably wanting to look for accounting software. There's lots of packages out there. You can do it so it's just on one desktop, or you can do it so there's the cloud. If it's cloud based, then it's a lot easier for different people to, authorised people, to be able to see the records as and when they require it. You can share it with your accountants easier. The accounting package obviously is set up specifically to understand the accounting rules and how to use that information. There's very standard reports usually built into most of them, and most of them integrate your sales invoicing into the whole package, so you can kind of keep a record of who owes you and who's already paid, etc. Usually you need extra, the negative of that is you will almost definitely need extra training and possibly ongoing support for that. And depending on which package you go for, it can be expensive. I mean, there are some free ones, don't get me wrong. Some of them are a bit more limiting. It does depend on what you're looking for. Okay, so, but what you've got to remember is, all of those that's more about the actual physical ins and outs transaction side. There's more to your charity records than that. You need to make sure that you keep all the evidence for behind the scenes. So basically, for instance, so your receipts, you've got grants, you need to keep your confirmation letter, what the grant conditions are, remittances of what you've received. If you do room hire, you need to be able to keep a copy of the invoice that you've sent out, evidence that the money's been received. Donations, again, that kind of depends on what depth you're going to. In particular, if you're going to be claiming gift aid back, you need all your gift aid declaration forms all signed, etc. Most donations, if nothing else, will come with some kind of email confirmation saying, I'm sending you this and this, thank you, or whatever. And then, of course, there's if you're holding fundraising and you're actually using cash, you need to make sure that you control that correctly, that there's it's counted by at least 2 people. They sign it off. That's so you're backing each other up. You've got cash sheets proving that so many of each coinage or thingy notes, and it comes up to the total with what's actually in the thing. So that's to do with receipts. And then obviously on your payment side, similar thing. You need to make sure you keep all your invoices from your suppliers. You need to keep even your small receipts from shops, or if it's market stalls, handwritten receipts, something that's properly authorised, showing you how much you've spent, where you've spent it, and what you've spent it on. Volunteers' expenses, you need to keep all the claim forms, and they should have receipts attached if they are reclaiming for something that they've bought for the organisation. You need to make sure you keep those receipts. You keep the forms. They're all properly signed, so someone's authorised that person's allowed to make that expenditure. When the person gets the money, they sign to say, yep, I've got the money. Travel expenses, if there's a ticket involved, obviously that needs to be kept. If it's to do with number of miles, they're claiming so much per mile, they need to record where they've been, how many miles for each journey. It's all about making sure you've got all the backing information that you can prove. Not only can they prove, if it's someone else that's claiming it from you, they can prove that they're claiming the right amount, but also you can prove, 1, that they've got the money, and 2, that what it was spent on, etc. Okay, so that's the record keeping. As I said, it's not just about keeping the ins and outs, it's about making sure you've got all the paperwork and things behind it, and that's very basic. But as I said, the main difference with the charities is the fact that if it's an expenditure, so let's say you get a grant and it's specifically for something like a daycare centre, then you need to know to mark, you need to mark whatever expenditure is specifically for the daycare. You need to be able to record, not only is it whatever kind of expenditure it is, rent, stationery, whatever, but you need to be able to record that it was spent out of such and such a fund. And possibly because you want to know how, what's the word I'm looking for? Because you also want to know how profitable or not each kind of different project was, you might also want to record that, so that at some point you can not only get your normal profit and loss balance sheet reports, which relates to the type of expenditure, but you can also get funding reports. So if the funder actually says, what did you spend my money on, hopefully you'll have software that you'll be able to kind of get a specific report saying, right, here you go, this funder, this is what you gave me, this is what I've spent it on. And then the third type of reports hopefully you can get out of there is that, oh, I'm doing daycare, I'm doing advice, I'm doing whatever, shop, a charity shop, something like that. So you want to be able to see how profitable or not each of those activities are, because that helps you make some kind of decision as to whether or not you're going to continue with it, and think about, well, why is it not profitable, or why is it profitable, or etc. It helps you make decisions on each of the different kind of projects that are there. Okay, so I hope that's been good for some kind of introduction into the charity record keeping. As I said, my name's Morag Hunt. I run Northwest Numbers Limited, and we provide bookkeeping and accountancy services, payroll, budgeting forecasts for small charities, not-for-profit, startups and businesses. I'm fully qualified with 34 years experience, most of which has been in the public stroke charity sector. And I set the business up a year ago because I want to make a difference. I want to make a difference in the world. I want to make a difference to people's lives. I want to be able to help people understand why they need to do the accounts, how to do them properly, or do them for them. If I'm doing them for you, that would hopefully relieve the stress that a lot of people can have, feeling that they're not sure they're doing it right, they're not sure they're hitting deadlines, etc. I'm hoping that it'll also free up your time to either spend with your family, do more on your business, more of your charitable objectives, etc. Because I did realise that just pure accountancy, I can't make a lot of difference to people's lives, but by getting into the kind of public sector, charity sector, not-for-profit, I can make a difference to people's lives, because I'm making a difference to your life, and then you're making a difference to other people's lives. So it's a win-win, because I love numbers, people, and making a difference. Okay, so if you want to talk to me, if you need to get in touch with me, my email, accounts@northwestnumbersltd.co.uk. I have a Facebook page, Northwest Numbers. I am visible on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and I also have a web page, www.northwestnumbersltd.co.uk. I do these 3 Minutes with Morag videos 3 times a week, Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday at 1 o'clock on my Facebook page, and I provide a free initial consultation if you would like to talk to me. Just either book through my Facebook or send me an email, and we will organise some kind of Zoom call so that we can discuss what kind of problems you're having, what I might be able to help you with, give you some suggestions, etc, etc. I hope that's been helpful. I will talk to you tomorrow. Take care. Bye.